Thank you everyone for being here. This is Oracle Tim with Oracle Investments. I appreciate you all following along and helping me out as I'm beginning to grow this channel. I'm just starting out fresh, so just go ahead and hit that like button. Totally open to any feedback that you can give me. Again, I'm new, so comment down below what you'd like to see, what you don't want to see, how I'm screwing up, what would be better. Wide open to suggestions, so please comment below, help me out here. Let me know what else you'd like to see. I will give some information about a lot of different things. Tesla is going to be today's topic, but smash that like button, let me know what you think, and we'll get to it.
Here with what to expect, Barron's senior special writer Al Root and longtime Tesla bull Gerber Kawasaki CEO Ross Gerber. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Al, let me start with you. Is this event all about batteries?
You know what? I don't think so. I mean, everything is always about everything with Tesla.
You see, I think Al here is spot on. Everything is always about everything with Tesla because it's so vertically integrated. And because it's so vertically integrated, everything plays off of itself. And because they have control of all of it, they don't have to worry about the supply chains. They do, but not as much as everybody else because they do everything else in-house. They can handle most things in-house. So everything is definitely always about everything with Tesla because they do it all.
So that being said, I think it's more about production. I think it's more about the Austin plant coming online, an update about what's going on in Germany, how fast these plants can ramp up, because we could be looking at 1.2, 1.3 million units for Tesla in 2022. So
yeah, production is huge, and as he's saying, 1.2 to 1.3 million cars produced next year. Think about the Shanghai ramp. Within 1 year, they're producing 500,000 cars within 1 year. So if you figure, let's say China even stays steady at that, which they're not, they're going to ramp up even more. That's 500,000 there. You're going to get Austin's going to be coming online, Berlin's going to be coming online very soon, and so with all three of those. If that ramp holds true, that ramp pace between all three factories, you're looking at 1.5 million from just those three alone. And Elon said that Fremont's going to be bumping up even more. So realistically, if they can overcome the supply shortages and the chip shortages and all these other little components that they need from other suppliers, realistically, they could be pushing 2 million units produced next year. That's a very bull case, but that is a potential real number.
Oh, and maybe we'll get a little bit more about Cybertruck production when that's coming out. So for me, I'm a little more interested in production than last year, which was actually, the annual meeting in the Battery Technology Day.
So just, Al, do I have this right? If we ramp up next year to 1.2, 1.3 million, that essentially doubles last year's production. Do I have that right with my Tesla numbers?
Well, so they're basically going from 2 plants to 4 now. It would take about a year to achieve full production. So this idea of how fast they ramp and how all the numbers work out, I think is a big deal for 22. But, let's say at the end of 22, you're essentially exactly right. 2 plants to 4 plants, exiting the year at probably 2 million units of annual capacity.
Well, they got to keep up, right, Ross? They have competition now from the traditional automakers who now say they're, platform companies like General Motors and everybody else really pushing electrification.
Well, there's no competition. I mean, GM just took all their cars back and has to fix all their EV cars. There is no competition for Tesla. Nobody's been able to scale electric vehicle production. We're seeing the Lucid finally rolling out at $165,000 a car and maybe 20,000 units. We're seeing enormous demand for electric vehicles with soaring gas prices and consumers really taking it on the chin at the pump. So this is the best of times for Tesla. So I think the challenge for them is exactly what was being discussed, is really how fast can they ramp production in Texas. And I think that's what I want to find out today. where are they at? Are we going to start production by the end of the year? Where Cybertruck? That's a big part of the equation because they have tremendous orders for it, and semi-truck. So that's what I'm really looking forward to is hearing a little bit more about that. And then Elon this morning was tweeting about full self-drive beta testers, getting a lot more testers out there on the road. So this is an exciting time for Tesla.
I love Ross Gerber. Like the guy, I could just listen to him, talk all day long. The guy's fantastic. But he's exactly right. Like Tesla's only competition currently is themselves. They only are competing against themselves. How quickly can they ramp? How quickly can they push themselves forward faster and pull away from the other competition faster? Obviously there's hundreds of other companies out there trying to produce EVs. Some are more successful than others. Some of them have a lot more capital that they can utilize to build their EV business. But when it comes down to it, nobody's even close. Like the closest competition is 5 years out from them, and they're just going to keep on driving themselves forward. And obviously this video is older, so we have had the shareholder meeting. So we know that Austin's going to be pushing production already before the end of the year. That's going to be coming out. Cybertruck is going to be starting end of next year, barring any major supply chain issues. Semi is going to be coming in 2023. He didn't talk about it because nobody has anything official about it, but the Model 2 is most likely coming in 2023. Who knows what it's going to be called? Personally, I think it should still be the Model 2 because then their whole lineup could be too sexy. Just saying, I'm okay with that. I think that fits right into Elon's whole mentality because Tesla is just too sexy for all the other EV manufacturers out there. And yeah, so that's it. Tesla is their only competition.
Looking at the Cybertruck, I'm sorry guys, and I don't doubt Elon Musk knowing what the consumer wants, but this is a weird looking truck. Is there really that big of a demand to drive something like this, Al? And this would be coming from Austin only, is that correct?
I believe it's only Austin right now, yes. Now listen, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
So you agree with me.
They have racked up about 1 million. When they stopped reporting the pre-orders, it was about 600,000. And all the pre-orders, maybe there's double ordering, maybe they're not all real orders. But like Ford is proud of 150,000 F-150 orders. And I know what Ross is saying about GM and Ford. Like, I think the 150 is pretty good. I'm not besmirching Ford.
No, I agree.
Like, Tesla has 600,000, and then they stop counting. So a lot of people, like, that's years of production if he can deliver, if he can convert those orders into sales. So people like it. People like that truck.
I gotta say, I kind of agree with Al on this. Is the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And when Cybertruck first came out, I'm like, it's not really me. I'm more of a traditional type guy. But as time has gone on, and I've seen the functionalities of the truck, and the real personality in myself comes out of, like, I like to be different. I want to be, I don't want to be cookie cutter like everybody else. And again, not to take anything away from, the other manufacturers. I'm sure the Ford F-150 is going to be a wonderful truck, especially for Ford owners. But, when you've got 1 million, let's say even half of those reservations come true. So you've got 500,000 reservations for the Cybertruck. If Austin is going to be pushing 500,000 total vehicles in production for their first year of ramping, it's going to take 4 to 5 years for them to push out. Cybertruck hasn't come out yet. We have no idea what the ramp rate is going to be on the Cybertruck. But if that's the case, and let's say they're pushing it similar to, somewhere between the S and the X and the Model Y and the Model 3, let's say they're even pushing out, 100,000 Cybertrucks a year, that's 5 years worth of orders if only half of those reservations actually come to fruition.
You know what also stood out to me, Ross, when you look at the margin for Tesla, I think it's 24%. So they're pretty solid because they keep increasing the price of their cars. At the beginning of the year, it was like $500, $1,000. Well, this latest increase is $2,000, and it makes their cheapest car $42,000. $42,000. And then you have these, you said there's no competition for Tesla. Well, that price tag is good for investors, but you got all these Chinese startups coming out with cheaper cars, and some of the batteries go a long way too. You're not worried about that, Ross?
Well, the Chinese competitors are really the only real competitor, and one that is spacking now, which is Polestar, which is Volvo, which is really owned by China. This is a pretty good vehicle, and they've been able to build a decent amount of them. Nothing in the scale of a Tesla, but certainly it's a decent car. But what we're talking about is Tesla doesn't really compete against other EVs because consumers want electric vehicles, and they'll buy any electric vehicle that's good, that's for sale. The real destruction is in the ICE vehicle sales, and we're seeing just horrendous numbers from the ICE vehicle sales, Ford and GM, because people just don't want those cars anymore and they want EVs. So any car company that makes an EV will be successful. And we're seeing this with the Porsche Taycan Turbo everywhere around LA. It's a beautiful car, very expensive and not great specs, but people want EVs and Porsche drivers are buying them, just like Ford drivers will buy Ford EVs. So, I think the big challenge for all the companies is, can they get these vehicles made in scale? And we still have yet to see anybody do this.
This is a huge point that I've been, trying to discuss with a bunch of Tesla bears that are out there is competition. There's EV competition, they're losing market share. First off, the nature of any business, as you're growing, as there's going to be other people producing the same product like an EV, is you're going to lose market share. There's more people out there. But the reality of the situation is not EVs versus EVs. It's EVs versus ICE. And so when you're looking at an EV, like a Tesla losing market share, they're not losing market share in the vehicle sector. You have to look at the whole entire sector of vehicles that are out there. It's a multi-trillion-dollar business, and the market share isn't coming from EV manufacturers. It's coming from the vehicle, the whole conglomerate. That's all of it. So, you're going to have, looking at the sales of GM and Ford dropping 30%, that's what's going to happen. So when you look at these legacy automakers and you're saying, oh, they're going to come out with EVs and they're going to be pushing by 2025, 2030, great, but they're cannibalizing themselves in the process. They're going to be losing market share to themselves in order to gain the EV market share. And all the while, Tesla is just going to keep on growing. So sure, maybe Tesla's only going to have 30, 25% of the market share of EVs. But as their market share comes down in EVs, their market share for total vehicles in the world are going to be increasing. That's the number you want to pay attention to. What is the percentage of market share that Tesla has for overall vehicles in the world? That's the important one.
And my remaining question, I have 10 seconds here, Alan, is full self-driving. Is that a risk to Tesla when you look at the regulatory environment around that and some of the mishaps they've had with the beta version of that?
Impossible to answer in 10 seconds. Of course it's a risk. It is overstated risk.
Well, 1,000 drivers get it tomorrow. Ross, Al, thank you very much. Good job. And that was 5 seconds, I think, Al, just so we know.
One of the things that drives me crazy is the FSD FUD. All these people like, oh, it's dangerous, having the car, driving itself, and everybody's just scared. It's just like when vehicles first came about, people who rode horses all the time were like, oh, those are dangerous. Nobody's going to want to drive cars. Look at how dangerous they could be. Well, right. And then you get regulations in there, and the only way innovation works is trial and error. And unfortunately, accidents are going to happen. People are going to get hurt. People are going to get killed. But, along the way, you're going to be saving so many more lives down the road. If all you're going to think about is now, in the moment, then you're going to be stuck in the moment. And if we did that for everything in our lives, we wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't have created agriculture. We wouldn't have created the wheel. That's where innovation comes from. And yeah, stuff happens. But you got to fight your way through that and see the long road picture and say, all right, this is going to be better. I've got a 14-year-old son. He's going to be getting his license in the next year and a half. And I tell myself, I want to teach him how to drive. I do. I want him to have that skill. ICE vehicles are still going to be around, whether they're new or used, for many years. He needs to have that skill. He needs to know how they function. But as a father, if I had my choice of putting my child, a new driver, behind the wheel to go through those learning experiences, or to have a Tesla that he can have drive around much safer than him, and he wouldn't have to go through those learning curves, I would do it. And I would just have him learn how to drive on his own in a safer environment, not just on the road. And he can learn things differently. I'm an overprotective father sometimes, sure, but I also like to let my kid go out there and do his thing. But that's one of those things you say, yeah, down the road, that safety is going to be significantly more impactful. And the people who don't want to see it because they're so afraid, oh, my loved one's gonna die. It sucks, dude. I get it. Nobody wants a loved one or somebody that they know to die. But if in the long run, if I said, you know what, be harsh, you could say, hey, in the next 10 years, 10 loved ones are going to die. Or you can say one random loved one is going to die this year as we're testing things out, and you're going to save the other 9 later. What would you say? And there's some people who are just going to say, and they don't have an option, they don't have a solution because they can't accept that. But for a lot of other people who have a logical brain, you're going to say, yeah, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Because guess what? Reality is people die. They're going to. It's going to suck. But if I can save 9 lives by sacrificing 1, maybe it's just me. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about the Cybertruck also, and your comments on that and how you feel the looks and functionality are going to be. Again, thank you all so much for being here, following along. Hit that like button down below. Leave me some comments as to how you think this channel is going, what else you'd like to see. I do a lot of different things on here as well. It's all about investing in everything in life. It is going to be investing in your finances, your stocks. I'm getting into real estate, investing in adventures. I go out hiking a lot, so you'll see a lot of hiking videos. And honestly, it all comes down to what it's about with family and friends. I invest to get myself to a place financially where I have the freedom of time to be able to spend with my family and friends as much as I want. And that's one of the things I'm trying to do here, is inspire all of you and give you any ideas and pointers and help to get you to the point where you can do the same. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you later.